Good day and welcome to the channel and our short boot process explainer. I've been building computers since the 80s and today we're going to help you unscramble your computer's boot sequence. Seriously, after decades on the bench, I still see even pros mix up these four terms. So we're going to untangle the words post, BIOS, UEFI, and CMOS. So let's start at the start and track down how this hardware evolved right from the beginning. First up is POST. It's just a simple acronym for Power On Self-Test. I have heard some inaccurately say it's the pre-operating system self-test, but it's not hardware. It's just a simple diagnostic routine that's built right into the firmware of your computer's motherboard, and it starts the microsecond your board gets power. Think of it as a pre-flight checklist. It rapidly checks your RAM, CPU, and peripherals, anything that's plugged into the motherboard. Got a loose stick of RAM or a cooked CPU? Well, POST will halt everything and throw a diagnostic warning to you. Now, once you pass the post, the firmware kicks in to initialize the hardware. Back in the day, that was BIOS, the basic input-output system. You probably remember those clunky blue and black screens, right? For decades, this was the only way motherboard manufacturers had deep hardware control. This is where all of the hardware settings were kept. So if you wanted to overclock your memory or give your CPU some extra electricity, this is where you configured it. But it has a 2 terabyte drive limit, which was way huge back in the 80s, just unimaginably large. But today, that's just one unacceptable bottleneck for today's storage. I mean, the PC I'm using to produce this very video on today has a single 4 terabyte SSD on it, and it's not uncommon to see 15 terabyte spinning disks too. 2 terabyte is just not going to fly. Enter UEFI, which was developed by a consortium led by Intel in about 2005. And UEFI has now completely replaced BIOS. Although when you look at the UEFI screen, it might still look like the old school BIOS, but that's just because of the way UEFI manufacturers, like American Megatrends, licenses the features in their UEFI. If the motherboard manufacturer paid more, you get mouse support. A little more, you get colors. A little more, you get graphics. But it doesn't matter, everything today is UEFI. And has been for a solid decade, since about 2015. And it's a massive modern upgrade that handles the exact same job as BIOS, but it's definitely faster, better, and so much prettier. It totally replaces that old legacy text environment, usually with some at least minimal slick graphical interface that you can actually click through. UEFI supports mice, so you can move around the screen and click, and massive drive capacities with GPT, and it also provides secure boot, which verifies the operating system that's about to load before it even starts to load. So it blocks unauthorized rootkits, which used to be a huge virus problem. But where do all the custom overclocking actually live? Well, that's your CMOS scratchpad memory. CMOS is just the chip. Because it's volatile memory, meaning when it loses power, it completely resets to its factory defaults. It completely relies on that tiny, flat coin cell battery called a CR2032 to keep your configuration saved. Now here's a bench question I get asked from time to time. Do even modern UEFI computers still need that little CR2032 coin battery? I mean, back in the day, if your system went to hell because you were screwing around in the BIOS, you could simply pull the cover off your computer, find that little CR2032 coin-size battery, pull it out for 15 seconds, and everything, and I mean everything in the BIOS, would be reset to factory defaults. Well, that's not the way it is with UEFI. That's because UEFI settings are saved to non-volatile memory, meaning that those settings do not get wiped when it loses power. However, UEFI still needs that battery, but just for the system clock. So if you ever do want to reset your UEFI to factory because you've completely buggered it up, and you can't get into the UEFI to do a reset through the GUI, well, you're going to need to short out 2 little UEFI reset jumpers, which very few people are going to want to do. So look, grasping this hardware evolution, it'll honestly save you hours of misdiagnosis when you're troubleshooting on the bench. So the next time your boot screen just stays black, ask yourself, what is this post really trying to tell you? There'll be beep codes, or a flashing LED, or something you can look up. So hey, if you found this video useful, big thumbs up would be super appreciated. Subscribe's also appreciated, and if you have any questions or concerns, you can always get a hold of us directly at www.urtechDotCa. That's www.urtech.ca. Or you can leave a question or comment below, and if we don't get back to you, somebody else will, because on YouTube everybody's got an opinion. Thanks! Bye-bye!